the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets, casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, recruit. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just drop. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
What is up? This is Fantasy Flitting with the FS Army. We are looking back at week 14, doing a little cash lineup review. Great week, made some money, so let's go ahead and hop into it. All right, so let's start out with a couple winners of the week. We had Thomas DY. He's a DFS Army VIP, crushing cash every week. Sends me his head-to-heads or his winning lineup. I don't want to play him in head-to-head. Pretty good. So he crushed cash again this week. Had Justin Fields as his quarterback. This was one of the top plays that we had in the cheat sheet for good reason. Justin Fields had really just kind of gashed Detroit over the last few games on the ground. And he, had a lot of rushing here, did it with both his legs and through the air. So, felt he had a pretty good floor, and he was getting a lot of ownership. So we like the matchup. Christian McCaffrey and Zach Moss. These were core plays. Of course, Christian McCaffrey got a ton of yards, just to get the touchdowns, giving Jordan Mason carries, giving Deebo Samuel carries. But nonetheless, this is why you want to play Christian McCaffrey, because in a bad game, he still gets 19 points. Zach Moss, it was kind of the same thing. Another good matchup, really good pricing, and he was get so much ownership that he was basically going to be a free square, 85% owned. So, that's about all you can ask. DJ Moore and Drake London. DJ Moore was a guy like Fields, but we actually loved him more than Fields in this spot. And once the chalk finally settled, and he ended up being one of the highest owned wide receivers, this was an easy play for us with the volume, the floor, the ceiling. Drake London, this was a really good spot going against Tampa. That's a pass funnel. Great value play. Field was all over him. He's probably I think he was the highest owned wide receiver. So, love that. Mingo was kind of the punt so that you could get, Fields, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey. So, totally viable. Brevin Jordan paid down a tight end. We'd love to do that. And also got Pittman. So, this is a very balanced lineup with Fields, McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and Pittman. That's the floor that you want. And Thomas was able to cash. So, good on Thomas. The other one we had, Brandon Mill. So, he went the Jake Browning route. This is what I played as well. And you can see why he smashed. So, scored so many points because Jake Browning was like 5,200. He was really cheap and, hit almost 5x his salary. So Christian McCaffrey, Zach Moss, same start, DJ Moore. Really the same kind of lineup is the last one. The biggest difference is Njoku absolutely was a smash at tight end, and also got in Mixon there as well, who did better than Pittman. And also Rashid Rice. So getting Rashid Rice as opposed to Jonathan Mingo. These were Rashid Rice and Drake London were really just the top value plays at wide receiver. So, great lineup here with Brandon Mill. And then now we'll go over to my lineup that I had. Scored 184 points. So, one monies, of course. Doubled up here, one head-to-heads. So, this was same thing, Jake Browning. This was a guy that, we're going to look at the chalkboard in a second. I didn't really love him in cash because, we had only seen it one game. But once, he was going to be one of the highest owned quarterbacks at his 5,200 salary, that was just kind of a no-brainer for me. I got Javonte Williams in my lineup. So I went with the Javonte, Zach Moss, and Christian McCaffrey 3 running back build. So with Javonte and McCaffrey, really had the floor that I needed. As I said, Zach Moss, that free square, almost 80% of the field played him. Loved, and that was my core group of wide receivers. So much like Brandon, the other Brandon, Brandon as well. We had Rashee Rice, DJ Moore, and Drake London is our 3 wide receivers. And we also had Njoku. I guess the one difference would have been his running backs. He played Mixon. I played Javonte and spent up a little bit for the Ravens D. I didn't expect that game to be a shootout, but, I was a little worried with the Browns defense once, we saw Trevor Lawrence, once we knew that he was going to get the start. So I thought the Ravens were just a little bit of a better unit because Stafford can definitely be turnover prone at times. So ended up not burning me. I think the cash line, we scored high. The cash line, the min cash was 146. So the cash line was right around like 150. As you saw, my boy Thomas DY, who had 154 points. So that was, probably just above the cash line. And the only real difference, I guess, with min cashing, this lineup that I don't really like, just one thing that stands out is Elijah Moore. Once Amari Cooper was active, Elijah Moore was no longer in play for us. He was the guy we were on early in the week because we didn't think Amari Cooper would play with a concussion, but he ended up playing. So that took us off of Elijah Moore. But other than that, this was a perfectly fine cash lineup. I will say, though, when you pay up for Christian McCaffrey at 9,200 and Alvin Kamara at 8,200, it's really hard to piece together the rest of your lineup. I normally don't like to punt twice at wide receiver, and that's exactly what happened here. And I think this is kind of what, kept this lineup from hitting the cash line. So just keep that in mind. Some things you want to avoid. You want to try to have a balanced lineup. That's why, I wasn't going to play Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to play Mixon or Javonte Williams, so I could, use that money as opposed to a 3,500 guy. I could get a 5,500 guy who's getting a lot of volume, is in a good game environment. And then, I could get Drake London, who's the wide receiver 1 on a team in a good matchup, going against pass funnel. So, just overall lineup construction, you want to really have a balanced lineup, but also get guys in good spots that project well, look to get a lot of volume, and could really have a ceiling type performance that you need, and we'll have a safe floor. So you want guys that have high floor, but also can have a ceiling game. So when you get a dud from like a Christian McCaffrey, say you get 10 to 15 points from your 9,200 player, you have that one guy that can go off for 30 and kind of save the overall lineup. So just something to keep in mind. Let's go over to the chalkboard. And, this is a big part of our process over at DFS Army. This helps a lot of DFS Army VIPs hit the cash line each and every week, just knowing what the field is going to do and, kind of piecing together your cash lineup based on that. Like I said, Jake Browning, once we saw that he was 5,200 and he was going to be the highest owned quarterback, it really just made a lot of sense to play him because you could pay up. You could get Christian McCaffrey. You could also get 2 other solid running backs to go with him. You can get, Pittman, DJ Moore. So, that's really what we did with it, as he was the highest owned quarterback. We also liked Brock Purdy, being high owned, and Justin Fields. So those were really the 3 cash play quarterbacks for us this week. And if you played those guys, there were paths to the cash line, all 3 of them. Now, like we said, Zach Moss, all the reason to get off him in tournaments, right? Maybe he ran too hot earlier this year. He's a backup. Maybe he's just not that good. So, fade that chalk in tournaments, but in cash, when you see a guy this high owned, you can know that almost all the field is going to play him, which is what happened. He was like 75 to 85% owned. So that was a free square. Christian McCaffrey wasn't too good of a spot. Christian McCaffrey should have had about 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, he had the yardage. He had 133 rushing yards in addition to whatever he had receiving. And, the goal line carries just went to Debo and Jordan Mason. So it was just Kyle Shanahan. But nonetheless, 19 points in your cash games, perfectly fine. Not going to win you a tournament, but definitely good enough for cash. Some of the other guys we liked, based on matchup and volume, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams, they got there. I thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire was an acceptable punt with this type of ownership that he was getting, knowing that if you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you're loading up on studs. I didn't like Kamara too much in cash because the ownership it just made more sense to play Christian McCaffrey over Kamara, and I wasn't going to pair those two together. And then, wide receiver. I mean, if you just played Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Rashee Rice, DJ Moore, if you played these guys, these were the guys we were on in cash, then you did perfectly fine. And then David Njoku, same thing. We expected him to be the highest owned, so he was the guy that I went with, obviously. Normally we're going to not pay all the way up, so we're not wanting a Travis Kelce or a Kittle in your cash lineup. And you're trying to find value guys who are good matchups, getting a lot of targets. So that was Njoku. That was Cole Kmet. I really didn't want to go above Njoku, but, Isaiah Likely had Brevin Jordan as a viable play as well. So just kind of want to show you what you have access to as well as the DFS Army VIP. So, a couple things. You could try out a free month offer. It's in the video description. So what that'll do is give you a free month to try DFS Army. If you'd like to try it now, you don't need the free month. You can use code FANTASYFLING for 10% off a VIP subscription. This gives you access to the cheat sheet that we have every week. We have cheat sheets for basically every type of contest, both on FanDuel and DraftKings. You have the Chalkboard. We have the matchup station, which will show, the percentage, the snap share, target share, rush volume, all those things. Is in addition to the domination station, which is DFS Army's optimizer, best in the biz. So use code FANTASYFLING, 10% off that VIP subscription. So as I said, it's pretty well spelled out for you between the Chalkboard and the cheat sheet. We had Fields, Purdy, Browning. Like I said, Christian McCaffrey was a core play. Also, a lot of guys that did well here. So Bijan, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams, these guys all helped you hit the cash line. Down day for Keenan Allen, but, like you just saw, didn't really go there just because I liked the other matchups and the more balanced lineup of not having a Keenan Allen mixed with a Christian McCaffrey. I liked, the DJ Moores, the Garrett Wilson, the Rashee Rice. These were really the range that we lived in for our cash games, as well as Drake London, who scored 32 points and was the highest owned. It was Njoku, it was Likely. These guys absolutely smashed. And then, if you had a combination of, the Browns D, if we played the Browns D, I'm not sure how the Jets and the Falcons did. I'm guessing okay. But, the Browns D were certainly the pay-up option. So that was pretty much it. Join us, and you will crush cash games too. So I think that's going to do it for this week. By the way, the Millie Maker review, the MME strategy, this entire tournament review is going to be dropping tonight. I don't know what's going on Fantasy Labs. They haven't updated their stuff yet, so wasn't able to show that this morning. All the numbers were incorrect, so we're going to have that for you tonight. So stay tuned. If you like this kind of content, let us know. Hit that like button, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss an episode. As tonight I'm sure we're going to have the 2-game slate breakdown or the showdown breakdown. So definitely make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss it. So that's going to do it. I will see y'all later.